2024 National Champagne Brunch. The brunch will begin in 1 minute. Want to get the party started? Go ahead and order your upgraded champagne now. You will have received a text message with instructions on how to upgrade your champagne. So don't wait. Please take your seats. Please take your seats. Please take your seats. The program is about to begin. Welcome to LGBTQ+ Victory Fund's 2024 National Champagne Brunch. Our first speaker is Alistair Chang. Alistair serves as the Ward 2 member on the DC State Board of Education and is the first Asian American elected to the DC State Board of Education. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to DC State Board of Education member Alistair Chang.
Everybody, Hello, hello, hello. Great to see you all, and welcome to DC. I'm Alistair Chang, and I represent this neighborhood, Ward 2, on the DC State Board of Education. And yes, State Board. I am proud to be the only out LGBTQ+ and the first AAPI Board of Education member in DC. Thanks to each of you here and the entire Victory Fund community for making that possible. Here in DC, we are actively supporting students to see their diverse selves reflected in our school curriculum. And we are actively encouraging them to understand the lives of people who experience the world differently. I recognize that some of you in this room are on school boards or running for school boards where that is not the reality, and I deeply, deeply appreciate your courage and for fighting for LGBTQ+ kids, because that means fighting for all kids. My dad worked as a waiter in DC's Chinatown, right around the corner, and he worked long hours so that I could have the educational opportunities that he didn't in rural Taiwan. My top priority on the board is to equip every DC student with those opportunities, and I know firsthand that is only possible with government that reflects the people that it serves. Thanks to each of you here for investing in LGBTQ+ candidates so that we can serve our communities as our full selves. You just received a text inviting you to upgrade your champagne to a bottle of Veuve. Proceeds will go to further supporting Victory's impact, so please buy plenty. And welcome, welcome again to DC. Santé, Prost, Campe. Cheers.
Next, please welcome to the stage Board Chair of LGBTQ+ Victory Fund, Wade Rakes.
Well, good afternoon, Victory. For the past 2 years, it has been my honor to serve as board chair of LGBTQ+ Victory Fund, a position that's allowed me to connect with hundreds of out-leaders around the country. If you're in this room, you know why this work matters so much. Today's school board member could be tomorrow's U.S. Senator. And building a strong pipeline of LGBTQ+ elected leaders who can continue to rise through the ranks and advocate for our community at higher and higher levels remains one of Victory's most important projects. Our next speaker is the personification of Victory's mission. I met LaFonza Butler over a decade ago, but it was her historic appointment to the United States Senate that introduced Senator LaFonza Butler to the country and the world. Only 2,003 people have ever served in the United States Senate. Only 12 of those 2,003 have been African American. Only 3 of those 12 have been women. 3 out of 2,003. Said another way, only 2,003 people have ever served in the United States Senate. Only 60 of those 2,003 have been women. Only 3 of those women have been members of the LGBTQ+ community. 3 out of 2,003. Governor Gavin Newsom's appointment of LaFonza Butler to represent California in the United States Senate changed the course of history. But to know LaFonza Butler is to understand why Governor Newsom said he couldn't have conjured up a better candidate from his own imagination. Senator Butler grew up in Magnolia, Mississippi, and graduated from the country's premier HBCU, Jackson State University. I say that because my mother, Gwendolyn Rakes, who is here today, and my late grandmother, Catherine Little-Lott, are also Jackson State alumni. Senator Butler and I come from that place, Mississippi, still known for the murders of Medgar Evers, James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Swerner, the home of the indomitable Fannie Lou Hamer, who ran for the U.S. Senate in 1964. And because of people in this room, now the home of State Representative Fabian Nelson, who this year became the first out legislator in Mississippi. LaFonza started in Mississippi, but found opportunity in California. At just 30 years old, she was elected to lead the biggest union in California and the nation's largest home care workers union, SEIU Local 2015. SEIU, want to thank SEIU and the labor community for their consistent support of Victory. There she was the leading voice addressing pay inequity for millions. She was a political strategist for candidates running up and down the ballot and a senior leader on Vice President Kamala Harris's presidential campaign. And as president of Emily's List, the nation's largest resource for women in politics, LaFonza Butler fueled the elections of pro-choice, pro-equality leaders across the country. She took that passion to the Senate floor. There, she is a breath of fresh air in a body that has not always reflected our community. Yet it's her hard work and determination that inspires me the most. She serves on 4 committees in the Senate: Rules, Homeland Security, Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs, and the Judiciary Committee, where she chairs the subcommittee on the Constitution. As a gay black man in America, I know all too well the importance of judges who see us as people, as families, who are equal under the law and deserve a fair shot to thrive. Even though I am not a Californian, I know LaFonza Butler represents me and represents us. Senator Butler is joined today by her wife, Naniki Lee, a powerhouse advocate for workers. They are the first same-sex spouses and parents in Senate history, the first. I'm reminded of what LaFonza said when she joined Emily's List, because in this one sentence, she stated her North Star. LaFonza said, "I'm driven by my mother's example and my daughter's future." There is no doubt in my mind that Senator Butler has inspired and continues to inspire countless people, young and young at heart, to join the fight for equality and consider public service as a career path. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to our friend, Senator LaFonza Butler.
I think I have to pack Wade up in my pocket and take him with me for every introduction. Wade, my friend, thank you so much for such a generous introduction, invoking my dear alma mater, Ms. Gwen Rakes' alma mater, the I Love Jackson State University, reminding us of our history and the Fannie Lou Hamer Institute for Democracy that resides on the campus of Jackson State University. It is a pleasure to be with all of you, Victory Fund. Thank you all so much again for having me. Anise Parker. Where is Anise? I just saw her somewhere. She was Okay, there she is. Anise, I can't say another word without recognizing your leadership. Because of the work that you decided to do, not just running the Victory Fund, but running for controller of the city of Houston, daring to imagine that a gay woman could be the mayor of one of the country's largest cities. It truly is because of your leadership that so many of us are in the positions that we are. And I just wanted to thank you and give you your flowers for your leadership here at Victory Fund. In addition to Anise, and Wade, I want to appreciate the board of Victory Fund. How many board members of Victory and all of its entities are here in the room today? Thank you. Thank you all for the work that you do to every year, not just grow the organization or grow the events, but to inspire so many young people to pursue public office as a way of offering their community their gifts and their talents. I can't begin my remarks truly without acknowledging my partner in life, my ride or die, Naniki Lee, for 19 years. For 19 years, Naniki and I have decided that we are going to, choose this life and walk this journey together, and every day she makes me better. And I know that I am only here because of you, darling, so I appreciate you and thank you. So I'm going to let you in on a little secret about me, Victory Fund. People write for me, and then they put it on the screens, and then I don't use it at all. So to my friend of 20 years, Jeffrey Lerner, who has written for me today, I say with deep love, I'm not going to use it at all. So to the person who's operating these things, take a lunch break. I won't use it at all. I tend to find my inspiration in the moment. And this morning, as I was figuring out what my daughter wanted for breakfast, as I am her short order cook every morning, I spent a little bit of time thinking about my experience with all of you over the last 3 years that you've invited me to be a part of this event since we came back to Washington. And the thing that really sits with me is that at every Victory Fund event, I have not only met incredible elected officials and public servants, incredible operatives and organizers, people who are passionate about our community, but I've met mothers, I've met fathers, I've met spouses, I've met children, I've met whole families at this event. And it struck me as important for us to lift up and recognize this morning, because not everywhere are you in a place and in an organization where you are able to and indeed invited to show up as all of who you are. And so to the board of Victory Fund, to Anise Parker, I want to celebrate with all of you the fact that you have created an organization where we can truly be seen and we can truly be heard and we can build community and do the work of networking, because it is a hard job to build an organization that truly welcomes every part of our lives. And let's be honest, I know it's Sunday morning, and I am Mississippi born and raised, so I'm not going to venture too far, but it's Sunday morning. And I want to invite us to be honest. And you guys talk back to me if you feel like being honest this morning, but the work of being an elected official who is a member of the LGBTQ plus community, oftentimes when we are the only one, oftentimes often we are one, if only one of a few, it is hard work. Somebody is ready to be honest this morning. Because it's not just the accolades, it is the anxiety. It's not just the pride of representation, it is the isolation. It's not just the celebrations that happen in our homes and with our families and in our communities, but it is the attacks that happen online and with our colleagues and our peers, where we often find ourselves feeling the pain of being the only one. Talk to me, somebody. Or maybe it's just me. It could just be me. I am number 100 in today's United States Senate. As Wade noted, I am number 3 of the 2003. I am number 3 of only 3 black women. I am number 12 of only 12 black women. I am number 1 of the only black out senator to ever serve in the United States Senate. So it could only be me. It could only be me. Maybe it's just hard for me. I don't think it's just me, but I invite us all to be honest in this moment where family surrounds us, and where on a Sunday morning in April, the year of our Lord, 2024, I invite us to hear the good news this Sunday morning. And the good news this Sunday morning, Victory Fund, the good news, my friends, the good news, Tony Atkins, future governor of California, the good news. The good news, Victory Fund, is you. Because when the nights get long, because when the attacks get hard, because when the podium and the dais gets silent, because our children are being attacked for what sports they want to play, because Supreme Court justices write opinions now with great frequency that threaten our very existence and the very existence of our families, because there are those who would suggest that in the year of our Lord, 2024, we cannot say gay because of all of that, Victory Fund is still here. You are the good news. And not only are you here, you are helping us to build networks of support. You are cultivating young leaders who will be the leaders of tomorrow in public office. You are helping to build community and identity and representation. You are the good news. And so I know that I was given 5 minutes or so, and I'm probably running a little bit long, and the person who was running these things are now taking a lunch break. I committed at the top of my remarks to be brief. And so in closing, I truly come here today to celebrate my friend Wade Rakes and his chairmanship of Victory. I come here to honor the service of Anise Parker and her leadership across the many entities of Victory Fund. I come here to be in fellowship with a community of leaders who are donors, who are supporters, who are volunteers, who carry clipboards, who get signatures and petitions, who pass legislation, who use their voice to stand up for me and my family. I come here to salute all of you, to raise my glass to the work that you have done since 1991. For 33 years, you have worked to change the face of American politics at every level, and we owe you an incredible debt of gratitude. And lastly, Nanikki, you are going to get a chuckle out of this. And maybe I will get a deep reprimand when we get in the car. But lastly, I want to offer to those leaders who are running for office, who are in office, who are experiencing those moments of isolation and attack and burden, I want to offer you a bit of advice from the life of LaFonza and Nanikki. She would say Nanikki and LaFonza. And she's right, she comes first. About 15 years ago, Nanikki and I lived in Baltimore, Maryland. Shout out to all the Baltimoreans. And it's a reminder for all of us who call this region home to just hold in our hearts and in our minds those who are going to have to rebuild the Francis Scott Key Bridge and all of those families impacted. But Nanikki and I lived in Baltimore, and we love that city. It is an important part of our story as individuals and an incredibly important part of our story as a couple. In Baltimore, we were members of a church called Empowerment Temple. And every Sunday, we would go to Empowerment Temple, and the pastor there would give 3 bits of advice. And I offer our pastor's advice to us and to all of the congregants of Empowerment Temple. I offer his advice to all of those who are in public office right now and those who are seeking to be in public office. Our pastor at Empowerment Temple said, "I'm in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing, and I know that's right." And so when you get those calls, you are in those moments when you feel all alone, when you get and the attacks online, when you feel like nobody's got your back, when you are in the moments where you're standing at the mic and the voice that you hear is only yours, know that from Nanikki and I to all of you, know that you are in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing, and I know that's right. Thank you all very, very much.
Delivering our state of victory, please get excited for our next speaker, LGBTQ+ Victory Fund's President and CEO, Mayor Annise Parker.
Thank you. Thank you, appreciate it. You know why I'm up next? Because nobody wanted to follow Senator Butler. Can I have an amen on that? All right. Good afternoon. It's great to see you all today. And my most important job in any of these events, as always, is to say thank you. Thanks to all of you who are in the room. Thanks to all of you who support the work that we do. A particular thank you to our presenting sponsor, DaVita. All of our sponsors today, who I know they've been running on the boards, but also a thank you to the candidates and elected leaders who are in the room. You are our mission. You are our product, our mission, our work, our inspiration. Thank you for joining us today. Thanks also to the staff at Victory Fund and Victory Institute and now Victory Action. Without them, this event would not have happened. And it also takes a number of volunteers. And so thank you to the volunteers. And finally, the incredible staff here at the Grand Hyatt. Always thank the wait staff who are working really hard for us. You know, as this election cycle heats up, and I look around the room and certainly am inspired by Senator Butler's remarks, I know what our community is able to accomplish and will accomplish in November. Each one of you in this room is democracy in action. There are a lot of other places you could be this morning. Maybe more a lot more fun places you could be this morning, but no place that would have as much impact. You are democracy in action. You are working to ensure the people in our governments are reflective of the people they serve, from school boards to city councils to state legislatures to the United States Congress. You are democracy in action. We like to say at Victory Fund that representation matters, because damn it does. Representation matters. When we elect LGBTQ plus people to positions of power, we are all better off. It's not because there's some special magic in being the LGBT person in the room. Yeah, Senator Butler, sometimes it's like the worst thing to be the one LGBT person in the room, and I know there's a number of other elected officials here who can speak to that. But America's democracy is stronger when all of us are present. America's democracy is stronger when LGBTQ plus people participate in it. It is stronger when everyone is included and we are in and from every community. It is true not only because we are more likely to advocate and to advance policies and legislation that reflect the priorities of all of our communities, but our presence restores faith in democracy to those who are losing it. Our presence restores faith in democracy by showing our governments can look like them and will act in their interests when all of us are included. Now, look at what happened in Virginia last month. Actually, I'm going to ask you to back up and look at what happened in Virginia last November when Victory Fund candidate Rosia Hinson won a seat in the House of Delegates and became the first black out gay man to serve as a Virginia legislator. I know Rosia's in the room, and I'm gonna give him some props here. Rosia got to work this year to shore up our rights under a new, slim, pro-equality majority in both chambers of the General Assembly, and a governor with, I'll be kind, a mixed record on our rights. You know, along with out-state Senator Adam Evan, Rosia introduced and passed a bill to affirm marriage equality in Virginia. Governor Youngkin was pressured to sign the bill. I'm sure he was seriously pressured to sign the bill on both, and not to sign the bill. But his constituents, many of his constituents, backed us, and with a significant push from our record 9 LGBTQ plus lawmakers in Virginia, that bill is now Virginia law. I know the House lights are down, but if you are one of our Virginia legislators, would you stand up? Thank you. Thank you. You know, what does it mean? What does it mean to have that passed? It means that if the U.S. Supreme Court ever changes its mind on marriage equality, as Clarence Thomas promised, if they ever seek to reverse our rights, LGBTQ families and interracial families in the Commonwealth of Virginia will be protected. One more state where they won't just depend on the federal Respect for Marriage Act, shepherded through the Senate by our own Senator Tammy Baldwin. We build on each other's work. This bill is the product of decades of work building up a diverse, growing LGBTQ plus caucus in the Virginia State Legislature. In fact, it's one of just a few government bodies anywhere that has representation of every letter of the LGBTQ plus community. So what Democracy in Action looks like. The long slog for a more representative government yields results unimaginable in the state of Virginia just 10 years ago. And, you know, and for a lot of us, last few years have been a big step back. Feeling like things that we had depended on, the rock under our feet, had begun to shatter. But successes like Virginia's tell us it is still possible to make progress. We have clear examples, and we will continue to build on that work. The virtuous cycle it creates in getting more and more LGBTQ people to participate by running, by voting, by knocking on doors, by participating in our democracy at every level, will beget more changes in the future. Again, Delegate Hinson, Senator Adam Evan, every member of the Virginia legislature, thank you for protecting our rights in Virginia and setting an example for the rest of the South. When I think of Democracy in Action, I also think of one of our speakers today, U.S. Senator LaFonza Butler. You know, and Wade listed off all the historic firsts, and she is a historic first, the first black out lesbian in Congress. It's worth repeating. The first out LGBTQ plus senator from California, only the third black woman to serve in the Senate in the entirety of our nation's history. You know, when I was elected mayor of Houston, I was only the 10th woman in American history to lead a top 10 U.S. city. Way past time for those numbers to change. The symbolism of her appointment is an inspiration. The tenacity she has displayed on the job is an example. Not only is she a key player on the all-important Judiciary Committee, as Wade mentioned, she's joined some of the most important fights in Congress since she's been there. And one such fight is her bill on LGBTQ plus mental health. The LGBTQ plus mental health bill, which was led on the House side by her fellow LGBTQ plus members of Congress, Sharice Davids, Eric Sorensen, I know Eric's in the room, Richie Torres. The Pride in Mental Health Act will help real people address real issues, will save our lives in our community, which we know faces disproportionate challenges when it comes to mental well-being. LaFonza's bill expands access to mental health services, requires cultural competency training, provides funds for life-saving research, and a whole lot more. Democracy in action, standing up for what's right. The moment couldn't be more urgent, and Senator Butler, we thank you for that. Our LGBTQ plus members of Congress demonstrate Victory Fund's theory of change. When LGBTQ plus leaders are in office, they will fight for their constituents, but they will also represent our community and all Americans. We are America. America needs us to stand up because we have to be in those rooms for America to be whole. And while we know Senator Butler is stepping down at the end of the year, someone else is too. I think we're going to talk about that later. She leaves a really proud legacy for us. It matters not how long you serve, but what you accomplish while you're there. We are proud of Senator LaFonza Butler, whatever she does next. We know representation matters. And it matters even more that historic firsts become historic seconds and thirds and fourths, and then we stop checking the tally sheet. If you are still marking milestones, you have not reached the end of the journey. When we're in the room, the conversation is with us. When we are not in the room, the conversation is about us. And there's still too many places where it's about us. And with ignorance on display. Each of you here today, each of you who generously supports the work of Victory Fund, you are changing the conversation. We have our work cut out for us this year. As with any election cycle at Victory, we're focused on growing the number of out LGBTQ plus elected officials at every opportunity. There are campaigns that will decide legislative majorities in swing states that you're familiar with, states like Pennsylvania, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, New Hampshire. They're campaigns that will achieve important milestones for our community, but also establish a bulwark for the protection of our rights. I know, you know, that we are on track to elect our very first out transgender member of Congress this year. Sarah McBride in Delaware, who you'll hear from in a bit. You're going to hear from her in a minute. I'd just like to remind everybody, Sarah and Victory go way back. She joined us as an intern. That's where she started her political career, was right at Victory. And we're beyond proud of her and honored to stand with her as she prepares to make history in November. Although, again, she's not running to make history. She's running to make a difference. She's running to make change. She's running for all of us. And we have other opportunities to increase our congressional representation. This year, we're working to elect the first out LGBTQ plus person from the South to Congress, Julie Johnson in my home state of Texas. As well as the first out LGBTQ plus Latina in Congress, Emily Randall of Washington State. And we're working hard to bring Mondaire Jones back to Washington as part of a larger effort to win back the gavel for a pro-equality majority in the House of Representatives. In fact, anywhere you look on your ballot, LGBTQ plus leaders and voters will have a meaningful impact this November. You know, in Wisconsin, enthusiasm for re-electing State House Democratic leader Greta Neubauer in Racine will drive votes for re-electing, wait for it, U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin, ensuring we retain our only out U.S. Senator next year when we lose Senator Butler. It's important that we protect Tammy's seat from that guy from California who thinks he can carpetbag into Wisconsin. Thank you. Somebody's paying attention. In Palm Springs, our historic candidate, and I talk about this all the time, that everybody talks about coattails. Oh, there's going to be coattails, and they're going to pull our candidates up. They got it wrong, particularly this year. Yes, there's a coattail effect in politics, but there is a push-up effect as well. Our down-ballot candidates inspire their neighbors, encourage their friends, drag their families to the polls, and when those folks are there, they will vote up ticket as well. Our historic candidates for the State Assembly in Palm Springs include Christy Holstedge and Lisa Middleton, two experienced council members and rising stars. Christy will be one of the first bisexual women, and Lisa will be the first out transgender woman in the California legislature. Voter enthusiasm for them will help turn out votes for our congressional candidate, Will Rollins, who can flip a seat and take out one of the most corrupt and anti-LGBTQ plus members of the House. Political coattails, yes, can pull up down-ballot candidates, but we are the secret sauce of this election. Our candidates at the local level will inspire people. City council candidates, school board candidates, even our congressional candidates, pushing up, bringing people out. And Victory operates in this space where no other national organization does. And that's always been our mission and our strength. Those down ballot candidates, those races. And you know, maybe it's hard to get excited about a House of Delegates candidate in Virginia that you've never heard of and yet you don't actually get to vote for until you realize the impact that Arosia Hinson can have in pushing something forward that has the potential to change your life down the road. That's the work we do. We are planting seeds all over this country that are going to take root and sprout and flower in November. And I have promised myself over and over again that I would not say this is the most important election of my lifetime. Frankly, winning the mayor of Houston, but that was the most important election in my lifetime. But this is a critical election. Democracy is at stake. We know democracy is on the ballot. We are democracy in action, and we have to take the energy and excitement in this room and bring everybody we meet, everybody we know, everybody we touch when we leave this room with us through this election cycle so that we can stop the bigots in their tracks in November. Victory is proud to be nonpartisan, and we are proud to support Republican and Democratic and Libertarian candidates where it is appropriate. But Donald Trump cannot be the President of the United States again for our community. And I am asking you to reach out to everyone who agrees with us and agrees with you on that, to say, let us work together, shoring up our democracy from the ground and building it up to make sure that the future we have is brighter than the today we live in. The opponents of decency and the opponents of decency, the opponents of democracy are on the march. We have to be just as energetic and as committed and as fierce as they. The LGBTQ plus people we elect this year will not only fight for us in office, but they will ensure young people and others in our community believe that democracy and our political landscape supports them. They will see themselves as part of it. They will know they are part of us. They are the community. This is about more than our rights as a community. This is about helping democracy flourish when so many aim to tear it down. When November 6th gets here, the day after Election Day, don't be left asking if you did all you could to save our democracy from a hostile takeover. Our lives are at stake, our country's at stake, our democracy's at stake. You must act now. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for all you do. There is more work to come. Let's share that burden together. Thank you.
Our next featured speaker is Minneapolis City Councilwoman Andrea Jenkins. Councilwoman Jenkins is a politician, writer, poet, and transgender activist. Councilwoman Jenkins was the first Black openly transgender woman elected to public office in the United States to the Minneapolis City Council and served as its president from January 2022 to January 2024. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Councilwoman Andrea Jenkins.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Wow, I don't know if Senator Butler is still here, but I just want to say I feel you. Yeah, it's lonely. It can be really challenging. So thank you for acknowledging that, and thank you for the work that you do. Wow. Good afternoon, Victory. How is everybody doing today? I'm sitting here pinching myself that I'm sharing space with so many incredible leaders, electeds, speakers. I'm just so deeply honored to be here. As was mentioned, my name is Andrea Jenkins, and I am on the Minneapolis City Council. And I'm proud that we are a transgender refuge city. Welcoming trans and GNC families from all over the country, families that have been displaced because of bigoted laws, forcing them to leave their homes and to seek gender-affirming health care. I'm proud that this year marks 50 years since Minneapolis became the first city in the nation to have human rights protections specifically for trans and GNC folks. I'm proud that in 2017, Minneapolis became the first city in the nation to elect not one, but 2 Black transgender city council members. Myself and former city council member Philippe Cunningham, who is now on staff at the Obama Foundation. I know for a fact that we won that election because of the support we received from Victory Fund, the Victory Institute, and Victory Volunteers. In 2016, I was an empowerment fellow and went through the intensive campaign training simulation in Dallas, Texas. Is Joe here? Where's Joe? He was there leading us through that tremendous process. It's where I first met Charlotte City Council member LaWanna Mayfield. It's where I first met the Victory Fund president and former mayor of Houston, Texas, Anise Parker. And afterwards, I attended my first International Leaders Conference, where I gained confidence from meeting and connecting with LGBTQIA+ elected officials from all over the world. And then I was elected. And little did I know that I would be thrust into the world's spotlight. After the murder of George Floyd, which, by the way, happened in my district, just 2 blocks from my home, Minneapolis became the center of the world's attention. And as some of you may be aware, those 4 officers that were involved were all convicted of manslaughter and subsequently went to jail for very long sentences, thanks to our Attorney General, Keith Ellison. But after that, we began this process of transforming public safety in our community. And it's work that is ongoing. We set up a mental health response program that does not rely on police presence to provide safety in our communities. We that's important. We initiated violence interrupters to address violence issues before they occur, and to provide presence in various neighborhoods to be a deterrent to crime. But beyond police reform, we passed an ordinance banning conversion therapy in the city of Minneapolis. Then the state followed suit, authored a resolution honoring drag as performance art, ensuring that this time-honored expression will not be persecuted in the city of Minneapolis. And just last week, I authored a resolution in recognition of International Transgender Day of Visibility, which just so happened to fall on Easter Sunday. You know, I don't know. Jesus kind of was rocking a dress, I'm just saying. I was proud to join many of my trans siblings, my nieces and nephews, right here in Washington, D.C., on the National Mall for a beautiful day of speeches, performances, and rituals honoring our community. And with that in mind, can we just take a moment of silence for Next Benedict and all the trans and gender nonconforming youth that have succumbed to the horrific bullying, the legislative attacks, and the societal hatred that has contributed to them taking their own lives. A moment of silence. Thank you. You know, when I was reelected for my second term in 2021 and elected president of the council by my peers, I decided to begin signing all of my electronic communication with Love Andrea. We need more love in our political discourse. But it's not just Pollyanna love, right? Love stands for live with a sense of physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. Own your own financial future, including the ability to create generational wealth. Vote for to protect Black trans interests. And excel in all that they do, all that we do to amplify the narratives of Black excellence. That's love. One of the key words is vote. This is a critical election coming up. Anise just told us all about it. You guys probably heard a little bit about the two candidates. One of them is a soon-to-be convicted criminal. The other one got rid of some of your student loan debt. So I know who I'm supporting and voting for. Can you say the one that is not a criminal? This is democracy in action, and we must all do our part. So, it's time for the ask. So fill up your glasses. The champagne, I see people are pouring the champagne now. Grab a pen and a pitch card at your table, or you can just click on the link that was texted to you and get ready to give. Despite the record number of anti-LGBTQ laws, more LGBTQIA+ leaders continue to step up and run for office. Victory Fund and folks like yourselves are here on the front lines ensuring that Black and brown, LGBTQ+, trans and gender nonconforming, non-binary folks get elected to public office. I know that to be true because Victory Fund went all in to help me win my most recent elected. Yeah. It was my closest election ever. I won by just 38 votes. 38 votes. So if people say voting doesn't matter, Eric, it matters. It matters. Anise Parker was filling out note cards and sending them to my constituents. DeQuavius came out and knocked on doors with me from Victory Fund. Volunteers were making phone calls and sending the most important thing, dollars, to our campaign. I raised the most money I've ever raised, $150,000. We ended up spending $160,000 though. But it was all necessary. It got us those 38 votes, and that's why I'm standing here today. So today, I'm asking you to continue to help candidates like myself to start giving, even if you've already given. I know this ticket wasn't cheap, but please give again. When this community comes together, we can move mountains. We can make history. So go ahead and add another 0 to what you're writing. And then let's do it again. We need to raise at least $60,000 this afternoon, and I know that we can do it. I think we can surpass that. This year, Victory Fund will endorse over 500 LGBTQIA+ candidates. They're running for the United States Senate, the United States House of Representatives, for school boards, for city councils, and state legislators all across the United States. All 500 of them need your help to win on Election Day. So, let me see you picking up those pens and pledge cards. And I want to see you give us just a little bit more. There are some lovely volunteers walking around the room. Volunteers, please raise your hand and your cards. They need those pledge cards filled out. So please give them one. You've seen the headlines and you know that there are many terrible bills out there. So many of them are targeting trans people. The attacks against our community are growing. And Victory Fund knows the attacks against our out candidates are coming. And we're preparing for the worst. Attacks against candidates like my dear friend Senator Tammy Baldwin, transphobic attacks against out candidates for the United States House. They're going to call us all kinds of nasty names, groomers or worse. And Victory Fund is the only organization working up and down the ballot to make sure that LGBTQI+ people can withstand these attacks and win their crucial campaigns. The bigots are not taking a break, and neither can we. I want to ask everyone in this room to make a gift, and yes, I mean everyone. Please take out your phones, pick up one of those pledge cards on your table, or you can scan the QR code on the tent card at your table. Respond to the text you just received, or fill out a pledge card and hold it up for the team to collect. Whether your gift is $5, $50, or $5,000, every gift matters. Today will make a significant difference in our fight to win campaigns across this country in November. We need $60,000 today, and the number is already rising. I know how hard it is to run as an out LGBTQIA+ person, and I'm one of the few Black out trans women currently serving in the United States. And like the senator said, it gets lonely. And so support like the work that we get from Victory Fund deeply matters. It's one of the most rewarding things that I've ever done in my entire life, and I'm so proud to be able to represent all of us on the city council in Minneapolis, but people from all across the country look to this example to make a difference in their communities. Victory Fund and supporters like you helped me to win, helped me to have a seat at the table and hold it. Those numbers are going up. I told you we could surpass that. Way to go, Victory Fund. So continue to go to that QR code, to fill out that pledge card, support the great work of Victory Fund, and ensure that LGBTQIA+ candidates like me have the resources to win. The clock is ticking. November is almost here. Our democracy is at stake, and you guys are putting up the bucks. We won't stop until we have a seat at every table, in every school board, in every state legislature, and in the White House. We refuse to be on the menu. Let's win in 2024. I'm fired up and ready to go. Are you fired up? Say it with me. Fired up and ready to go. Fired up and ready to go. Let's win this thing. Thank you, everybody.
We would like to take this time to thank our incredible National Champagne Brunch sponsors. Without them, our work would not be possible. Presenting sponsor, DaVita. Platinum sponsors, Match Group, Mel Heifetz, National Association of Letter Carriers, Philip Morris International, Wade Rakes, and SEIU. Gold sponsors, Bond Events, Catalyst, Diageo North America, Emily's List, Genentech, Human Rights Campaign, Joseph Falk, Pharma, Planned Parenthood Action Fund, Protect Progress PAC, T-Mobile, and Wells Fargo. Thank you also to our silver sponsors, bronze sponsors, patron sponsors, as well as our table captains. We would also like to thank our Victory Institute supporters, gold supporters, Honorable John Arrowwood, Curtis T. Bell Trust, Claire Lucas and Judy DeLucach, Everytown, Robin Lemon Sellers and Eli Moki Grayson, Warner Music Group, and Visa. We will now have a 10-minute intermission. Feel free to stretch your legs and use the restroom during this time, but don't leave. The program will continue in 10 minutes. All right.
So, all right, stand by. We're going to do the 5-minute deal. Or is that okay?
The program will continue in 5 minutes. Please find your seats. The program will continue in 1 minute. Please welcome to the stage our Victory Campaign Board co-chairs, Kate Mader and Matthew McDermott.
Wow, got a little dance going on.
As everybody gets their seats.
Kick it off.
Wow, it feels really good to be up here, Matt. Look at this room. Wow. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kate Mader.
And that would mean my name is Matt McDermott.
And it's our honor to serve as co-chairs of the Victory Campaign Board.
What is the Victory Campaign Board, you might be asking after a few glasses of champagne?
Well, the Victory Campaign Board is our national board of leaders responsible for Victory's candidate endorsements and responsible for fundraising to ensure our endorsed candidates are getting the financial resources they need to win. Right now, there are more than 160 individuals around the country who serve on the campaign board all across the country, in cities and towns from California to Oklahoma to Provincetown.
Simply put, the Victory Campaign Board forms the literal backbone of Victory Fund's efforts around the country. If you are a VCB member in the room, please stand up so we can give you a round of applause and our thanks.
Today's event and Victory's Fund work year-round would not be possible without our presenting sponsor, DaVita. Thank you. In addition to DaVita, I'd like to again give a huge thanks to all of our sponsors. Without these incredible supporters, Victory would not be able to do the important work we do year-round. Please join us in giving a round of applause for their generous support and commitment to growing LGBTQ representation.
I see we also have some elected officials in the room, and it's always a delight when we get to see you and thank you for the work that you do.
It's such an incredible list. As I call your name, can you please stand so we can recognize and thank you for running, thank you for serving, and honestly, thank you for representing our community with honor. First up, we have my senator, U.S. State Senator LaFonza Butler.
United States Representative Eric Sorensen is in the room today.
Vermont State Treasurer Mike Piechek.
A shout out to my home state, Rhode Island State Senate Majority Leader Ryan Pearson.
Another amazing leader from my home state, California State Senator Tony Atkins.
Virginia State Senator Adam Ebbin.
Delaware State Senator Sarah McBride.
Woo. Virginia State Senator Danica Roem is in the room today.
Maryland State Delegate Gabriel Acevero.
As well as Maryland State Delegate Luke Clippinger.
Minnesota State Representative Lee Finke.
Virginia State Delegate Rosia Henson, Jr.
Massachusetts State Representative Jack Patrick Lewis.
Kansas State Representative Heath Meyer.
South Dakota State Representative Cameron Nelson.
Georgia State Representative Sam Park.
Once again, our Virginia State Delegate Marcia Price.
So much Virginia in the room today. Virginia State Delegate Mark Sickles is also in the room.
We told you this is an incredible list. Maryland State Delegate Joe Vogel.
Kansas State Representative Brandon Woodard.
Berrien Mayor Kevin Schilling.
We move to Ohio now. Columbus City Auditor Megan Kilgore.
Genesee County Clerk Dominique Clemens.
New York City Council Member Eric Botcher.
DC's ANC member Larry Handeran.
Cincinnati City Council Member Reggie Harris.
New York City Council Member Crystal Hudson.
Minneapolis City Council Member Andrea Jenkins, who we just heard from.
Another round of applause for Andrea. Woodbury City Council Member Joe Miller.
Washington, D.C. City Council member Zachary Park.
Reno City Council member Devin Reese.
And D.C. State Board of Education member Allison Chang, who we heard from to start our program.
North Carolina Court of Appeals Judge John Arrowwood.
Give him a round of applause. In addition, I also see some LGBTQ+ Victory Fund and Victory Institute board members in the room right now. Can you all stand as well for a round of applause?
Is this still you?
And finally, in addition to our elected leaders, our current board leaders, I also want to acknowledge and thank finally a few other leaders who are in the room today with us celebrating the work of this organization, including former board chairs Brian Johnson and Bill Lewis, Victory's Black Leader Caucus founding members Earl Folks and Ernest Hopkins, and last but certainly not least, former Victory CEOs Brian Bond and Chuck Wolf. Thank you all collectively for your continued engagement in this fight.
Once again, we want to thank each and every one of you for supporting our work here at Victory Fund. When we think of democracy in action, this is what it looks like. So thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the stage, LGBTQ+ Victory Institute Board Chair, Lynn Greer, as we honor our late co-founder, David Mixner.
Good afternoon. I want to extend a warm welcome to all of you and your support of Victory Institute and the good work of the Victory Fund. As I said, my name is Lynn Greer, and I had the privilege and honor of being the first board chair 33 years ago. And thanks to Claire Lucas, she brought me back to be with Anise about 6 years ago, and I am now the current board chair of the Institute. So I'm very grateful to continue this work. But today I'm here to tell you about my good friend and one of Victory's other founders and my fellow board co-chair, David Mixner. As many of you know, we lost David last month, and we lost a giant. David was courageous, unyielding force for social change throughout his life. But importantly, when our community faced widespread discrimination and during the HIV and AIDS crisis was being ignored here in Washington, David stepped up. David wasn't one of those to sit on the sidelines. He spoke up and he got things done. And in doing so, he brought many of us along to join him in that fight. In 1991, he, along with a handful of others, helped found and establish what is known today as the LGBTQ+ Victory Fund. Our mission has remained focused and very narrow for the last 30+ years. We elect LGBTQ+ leaders to public office. That's all we do. And as you can see by the presentation just before us, that there are many elected officials around the room and across this country, and on the ballot this fall will be many, many more LGBTQ+ candidates succeeding in public office. David, his work didn't stop when he founded the Victory Fund. It only really began. David pushed then presidential candidate Bill Clinton to be inclusive of gay people, and he was asked to join the National Executive Committee the first time an LGBTQ person held a public-facing role in a presidential campaign. Now, Ambassador Sean Patrick Maloney reminded us at David's funeral a few weeks ago that David was the one who helped get President Bill Clinton to sign an executive order barring federal government from denying security clearances to gay people based on our sexual orientation. Without that change, most of us would never be in the work we do. With that win, David launched Victory's political appointment program, pushing the administration to appoint LGBTQ people to public office. Roberta Achtenberg from California was the first ever out federally appointed LGBTQ+ person in history, and she was the Assistant Secretary for the Office of Fair Housing and Equal Opportunity. Yeah. This work continues to this day, and many of the LGBT appointees are in this room. Those appointees include a friend of David's, Jonathan Lovitz, who actually sat at my table, I got to know. He is an appointee at the U.S. Department of Commerce. Thank you, Jonathan, for being here, representing all the countless leaders who have benefited from David's advice, counsel, and mentorship over the years. In fact, the Biden-Harris administration is our biggest success story to date, with an estimated 15% of all political appointees, and there are thousands, are members of the LGBTQ+ community. I'm going to go off script just a little bit here. I had the pleasure of meeting a gentleman earlier today that works in the White House, and he told me that he was relaying this to the president, that we were at 14–15%. And President Biden's response was, "Isn't it great those people feel comfortable to be out at work?" That, to me, speaks volumes about who we're going to elect in November. So David did give his time, his energy, his money to build a new political reality. He spent years working on the appointments project for the Victory Fund. It is my pleasure and honor today to announce that the Appointees Project going forward will be named the David Mixner Appointments Project. His legacy is the thousands of out LGBTQ people who serve now, who are in appointed positions across this country and across this nation, and the tens of thousands of more who are waiting to serve. David embodied the spirit of activism, resistance in everything he did, always with a smile and a touch of humor. He has not only changed just America, but he changed the world we live in. Sorry, I didn't think I was going to get so emotional. So David, now we are going to honor him going forward, and I am just thrilled to be able to have his leadership always be at the forefront of Victory's appointment project. So we thank you. Thank you, David. Appreciate it.
Please welcome to the stage LGBTQ Victory Fund's former president and CEO, Chuck Wolf.
Hello, everyone. Great to be with you. It's been over 10 years since I've been able to address you from this stage. You all still look fabulous. I look like a Florida retiree. Thank you. It's great to be back. Wonderful to see a lot of new faces and a lot of people that I got to work with over the years. I am always happy to talk about what the intervening 10 years has been like since I've got to share the stage with you. But the most important thing I need to share with you is that over that period of time I got married, and that my husband Sam is over here in the audience. Sam, you want to wave? To be honest, he doesn't really want to wave, but there he is, getting some attention. You know, I left DC just before number 45 became president, only to get to Florida just in time for number 46 to become governor. What did I know and when did I know it? Well, it was time for me to retire from Victory, and I'm happy now to help talk a little bit about the transition that Victory is going to face. I've done a lot more listening than public speaking over the years, over the intervening 10 years. But I was honored to be asked to share a few remarks with you today about Mayor Annise Parker's leadership of Victory. I hope you'll join me as we think about what the remainder of this year is going to be like as Victory faces this transition. You know, it was 12, I served in this role for 12 years. I know a little bit about what it's like to manage 3 boards, 30 staff, 40 board members, nearly 1,000 candidates that you will connect with during the coming year, and all of those who are currently in office. The most difficult part, of course, is keeping the focus on the mission, which is not us as the staff. It's all of those elected officials who were just introduced in the room, and it's the hundreds of others that can't be with us today but are representing us around the country. That is the hardest task of the leadership of Victory, is remembering that that's always at our focus. Not only has Annise accomplished this better than all of us, and I think Brian and I would agree with that, but she's done it with the authenticity of having actually been in office. All those years ago when Annise came to DC with quiet humility, with confidence and forcefulness, in which she said, hey, I'm going to do this, and I need you to say yes now and be part of it. And she knew exactly what she was asking, and we were more than happy to say yes. We were more than happy to send Sean Werner down to Houston, who worked every day of the campaign, and to raise as much money as humanly possible for Annise's election as mayor of the 4th largest city in the country. Who knew those years would lead to 3 strong terms as mayor of the nation's 4th or maybe 3rd largest city in the country. And now we come to recognizing that we have to acknowledge that not only did Annise gracefully lead the city, but she was the right person at the right time for Victory. This job can be challenging. You know, across the nation, there are elections every year, there are elections every month. What seems like a constant barrage of, we got to tell you about this candidate, we got to tell you about this candidate, we got to tell you about what's happening in New England, we got to tell you about what's happening in Texas. Nobody could handle that better than somebody who had already dealt with the bare-knuckle politics of the nation's largest cities, and that was Mayor Parker. Coming on this, you can clap for Mayor Parker as often as you want this morning. Don't forget to keep clapping for her when she comes up here in a minute and she reminds you about these pieces of paper that are on your table, by the way. We don't want to forget the most important part. You know, the truth is that the universe brings you things you can handle when it's the right time. Organizations get the right leaders when it's the right time. We, as leaders, take on the right roles at the right time. There's certainly no doubt that Annise was the right leader for Victory at the right time. But it's not just the work she's done at Victory, right? It's the inspiration she's been to so many other people. So many great women have stepped up and have acknowledged Anise as a leader in the movement and an inspiration for their service. That work has led to a Tony and a Kate and a Tammy, and I'm purposely leaving out a lot of titles here so I don't, mess anybody up, because when this is recorded and later they're at a higher office, then we can still thank them. But for somebody to come in and take the role of Victory and then face a pandemic, for somebody to come in and deal with the rainbow wave of candidates that we have faced, we acknowledge that Anise was the perfect leader at the perfect time for Victory. This, I think, is when the show tune is supposed to start, of Bernadette Peters singing, "Anything you can do, I can do better," because that would be the perfect soundtrack for Anise's leadership. I also do want to take a moment to thank a lot of staff people that don't get a lot of attention, and I'll throw names to you that you may not have remembered were part of Victory's building up the leadership of women around the country. People like Robin Brand, Lucinda Gunn, Jen Jones, Ann Wallestead. There are a lot of people, Tiffany Muller, there are a lot of people in these roles who have done a lot of work over the years, and you're going to hear from even more today who have been part of the staff of Victory. That's just one of the many things she has done better than all of us. Anything you can do, I can do better, and Mayor Parker has proven that. We do have some other folks who want to say thanks, and so before I go on, I want to cue a video here of some people who have some special words to share for Anise.
Anise, I'm proud to join everyone from the LGBTQ+ Victory Fund and Institute, and your many admirers everywhere, in celebrating your remarkable contributions to our nation. Throughout your trailblazing career, you've made America a better, stronger, more inclusive place through your leadership and commitment to equality. As Houston's mayor, you advanced social justice, protected the environment, created opportunity, and made city government more effective and efficient. And now, for the last 6 years, as president and CEO of the Victory Fund and Victory Institute, you've helped recruit and support outstanding candidates across America and dramatically increased LGBTQ+ representation at every level of government. You're leaving the organization more than twice as large and stronger in every way than when you began your service to it. And our country's better off because of that. But I have to say I'm grateful you're not quite leaving yet, because we all know how much is at stake in this election cycle. So as we celebrate your leadership today, let's all recommit to the work that lies ahead, electing candidates who will strengthen, not weaken, our democracy, who believe that our diversity is our greatest asset, and who will build a country where everyone truly belongs.
It's Pete Buttigieg here with a word of admiration and appreciation for Anise Parker. Her encouragement and work behind the scenes as I was preparing the presidential campaign, and the all-important endorsement of the Victory Fund, which came my way only after our campaign showed that we had earned it, meant the world to me. And since then, I have seen how much she has provided counsel, insight, encouragement, and mentorship to so many LGBTQ+ candidates at every level across America. That has benefited not just those leaders, but American democracy that has become more representative thanks to the leadership of Anise Parker and the work of the Victory Fund. So on behalf of an awful lot of people, thank you, Mayor Parker.
Thank you, Mayor Parker, for shattering glass ceilings in Houston that allowed people like me to serve as an openly LGBTQ mayor of a big American city.
Thank you, Mayor Parker, for your mentorship, for your incredible quick wit, for always holding folks to a high standard and calling us to do more.
Thank you, Mayor Parker, for being the first national leader on the ground to support my State House run and for helping me raise the money I needed to win.
Thank you, Mayor Parker, for providing advice and support during my historic first run for the governorship of Colorado. I remember you gave important in-person support, even joined us on our bus, as well as marched with us in the Denver Pride Parade. Thank you, Anise.
Thank you, Mayor Parker, for joining me in the final days of my election in Kansas and for celebrating with me on election night.
Thank you, Mayor Parker, for your dedication to the Victory Institute and the Victory Fund over these years. I appreciate your personal guidance and mentorship. Thank you so much again. I will miss you, and I wish you well in the future.
Thank you, Mayor Parker, for believing in the transformational power of trans candidates.
Thank you, Mayor Parker, for believing in LGBTQ candidates across the entire country, including places like Nebraska.
Thank you, Mayor Parker, for fighting to make sure that our community has a seat at the table, no matter how hostile the territory.
Thank you, Mayor Anise Parker, for helping us to grow LGBTQ+ representation in Congress.
Thank you, Mayor Parker, for your leadership and your support.
Thank you, Mayor Parker, for being such a great mentor and a friend and allowing me the opportunity to be in the Illinois House of Representatives and the City of Chicago City Council.
Thank you, Mayor Parker, for believing in me and helping my campaign for the State House.
Thank you, Mayor Parker, for working to get so many of us elected. It's been historic.
Anise, will you please join me on the stage? And now, will all of you please welcome Mayor Anise Parker one more time to the stage as the CEO of the Victory Fund Institute and Victory Action. No, you're going to have months of this. There's some champagne behind you. Please raise your glass to Anise's leadership. I think they're gonna let you go ahead, and then they're gonna close with Sarah. Okay. So now I will let Anise remind you of how important these slips are. So, you want that to a prop?
I have to be brief because I've already spoken, and there is another speaker who is really important. Thank you for this. I hasten to say that I'm not done yet. I am actually going to serve out the year. But the goal is a clean and clear transition, and to make sure that the important work of the organization continues. I've been a part of Victory since its founding. I briefly served on the board. I've gone through the training. I've been an endorsed candidate. Now a staff member. I've helped train other candidates through the candidate campaign trainings. It's the arc of my life and my political career. It's been an honor to be able to come back and do this. Thank you. I wasn't privy to the video, so I was a little surprised, and I was like frantically texting people on staff, like, why has the program changed? I will, and I appreciated the call out from President Clinton. President Obama was actually in place when I was elected, and I have to tell you a brief story. You know that you would think that the most powerful man on earth would have people that would call you and tell you that the president's going to call you. So the day after I was elected, I was in wall-to-wall interviews and meetings, and I turned my phone off. And the president called, and it went to voicemail. It was a cool souvenir for about 2 weeks until I accidentally erased it. Second time I was elected, I got a call from Vice President Biden. Third time I was elected, I got a call from Valerie Jarrett. If I'd managed to go one more time, I don't know, the office intern, perhaps. But again, thank you. We still have a lot of work to do. We have a brief program to follow. But in order to do the work, we have to have the resources. And this is a moment, again, where since they've given me the microphone and something to toast you with, thank you for what you've done. Thank you for what you've given. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sticking with us for a long program. We have a lot of work to do. We really, really need your help and your resources to do that. So I ask you if you would please help us more if you can. Thank you. Thanks for the tribute. I appreciate it.
Next, we'd like to welcome to the stage candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives for the state of Delaware and current Delaware State Senator, Sarah McBride.
Hello, Victory! Listen, I know I'm the last speaker before your post-brunch nap, but let's hear it again. Hello, Victory! It is so great to be back with you all today. As I look out on this room, I am filled with immense gratitude. Gratitude for the work of trailblazers who we've lost, like David Mixner. Gratitude for the service in and out of government of Mayor Annise Parker. Gratitude to be here with my significant other, Sona, who is brilliant and has the most beautiful smile in the room. Gratitude for inspirations like LaFonza Butler and Andrea Jenkins. And so grateful for this incredible organization. Because of so many people in this room, I am able to stand here as an out, queer, transgender woman, a state senator, and a candidate for the United States House of Representatives. Growing up, that sentence would have seemed so impossible that it was almost incomprehensible. But because of Victory, we are literally living impossibility. For me, my connection to this organization is not just political, it's personal. The Victory family has been with me every step of the way in my own journey, long before I ever ran for office. As Mayor Parker mentioned, this organization provided me my first glimmer of hope after coming out, when I served as an intern in the Victory Fund office. I spent the summer with my friend Sam Garrett, who's here, tracking Victory candidates and watching out LGBTQ people run and win across the country. I attended a Victory candidate training, and I met out trans presidential appointees like Amanda Simpson. But as wonderful as that experience was, I wasn't originally supposed to work in the Victory office. Several weeks before, still just coming out to those around me, I had been accepted into the Victory Congressional Internship Program to work in an out member's office on the Hill. Now, for someone who had feared that coming out would destroy any chance of working in government, the idea of setting foot in the halls of Congress to work as my authentic self was exciting. But I was terrified. As far as we knew, I would be the first out trans woman to work on Capitol Hill in any capacity. I was scared to walk the halls with anti-equality politicians and staffers. I worried that I didn't belong. And so I turned it down. I told Victory I just wasn't ready. Well, Victory, I am back, and I am here to say that I'm now ready to work in Congress. I am not scared anymore. I am motivated. I'm energized. And for the first time in history, because of Victory's work and support, we have a real shot of electing an out trans person to federal office. Our campaign has a lead in the polls. We have a lead in endorsements. We have a lead in fundraising, although there's always more that we need. But there is a reason this has never been done before. It's because it's hard. We're running against the headwinds of history. But things that are worth doing are always hard. And it has never been more important for trans people to have representation and to have it everywhere. Victory has long reminded us that if we're not at the table, then we're on the menu. And trans people are on the MAGA menu. At a minimum, our presence in the halls of government make the jobs of anti-equality forces harder and more uncomfortable. Our presence serves as an undeniable and unavoidable reminder of the humanity of our community. But more importantly, through the power of our proximity, we maintain the bonds that, over time, admittedly all too slowly, can open even the most closed of hearts and minds. I was reminded of that power last year on the floor of the Delaware State Senate. It was the final week of our legislative session. Just 2 days earlier, I had announced my campaign for Congress. It was an announcement that got a lot of attention. Much of it positive, but some of it, shall we say, not so positive. And because of the risks that came with some of that not so positive feedback, our state capitol had increased security, a fact that both my Democratic and Republican colleagues were aware of. And so coincidentally, 2 days later, with increased security visible, I brought forward legislation I was sponsoring banning the LGBTQ panic defense in Delaware, a legal defense that essentially claims that anti-LGBTQ violence is excusable. The bill had passed the state house banning that defense on fairly partisan lines a few weeks before. I presented the bill in the state Senate, gave my opening comments, and prepared to do what all of us in this room have gotten far too used to doing: defend our dignity and our humanity. I finished, paused, waited for my conservative colleagues to oppose the bill, to say at best that this was a solution in search of a problem, or at worst, to allude to reasons why violence might be understandable, if not justifiable. And so I braced myself as my colleagues stood up on the other side of the aisle. But then something happened. Each one stood up, looked me directly in the eyes, and with tears swelling in their eyes, they validated the pain and fear that many LGBTQ people live with. They affirmed the dignity of LGBTQ lives. And to a person, they not only declared that they would be voting for the bill, but led by the most conservative member of that caucus, for the first time ever, every single Republican stood up and asked to be added as co-sponsors to the legislation. And look, I know that's a low bar. I know that making clear that there's no excuse for violence is quite literally the bare minimum. But what happened in that moment was more profound than the single policy before us. Because what happened in that moment, due to the swirl of circumstance, was that these politicians began to understand that the political is fundamentally personal. That this wasn't an abstract issue, but something that impacted someone they personally knew, and yes, someone that they cared about. And while that moment of breakthrough won't change their minds on every issue of LGBTQ equality overnight, while they won't be leading the Pride Parade tomorrow, You can't undo that synaptic connection once it happens. And it's moments like these, often so small to be almost invisible, that so much of our progress is built on. That's how change happens. That's democracy in action. It's not just an election every 2 years, but the countless quiet conversations that happen in between those elections. It's the freedom to not only choose our leaders, but to be those leaders, to be agents of change every single day through the power of our proximity. That is the responsibility of our movement in this moment, to resist the forces trying to pull us apart, to stay in those spaces that they're trying to push us out of, to be present even in the face of prejudice. Because today and every day, we belong. We belong in our schools, we belong in our workplaces, we belong in our houses of worship, and yes, we belong in city halls, state capitals, and the halls of Congress. Thank you all very much. It's an honor to be with you today, and it's a privilege to be with you in this fight. Thank you.
Thus ends the program. Have a great time. I'm going to ask if there are any of our elected officials, past or current, in the room that'd like to come up and have a class photo on stage. Please come on up. But let's enjoy the after party outside.